Well, hello, and welcome to Stop, Let's Team Up, My Legion Adventure, episode 61. Sorry for a week delay, folks. Just had a rough... I started the week rough, it ended rough, and it keeps getting rougher. So it's been a tough 2 weeks, and I want to talk some comics, and I just read a comic book full of super animals. Kind of cheered me up on a pretty crappy day. And that's Adventure Comics, 264. Oh, sorry, dumb Ross. That's 364. And it is got a great cover. It's got a great cover. But let's get to some of the basic data. I'm going to do a mix of the index and the grand comic book database on this one. So this comic was released on November 30th, 1967. It has a cover date of January of 1968. It is the Revolt of the Super Pets. Pencils and inks on the cover by Kurt Swan, George Klein. Letter Gasper Saladino. Written by Jim Shooter. Pencils, layouts only Jim Shooter and Pete Costanza. I'm really starting to dig Pete Costanza, and he's perfect for this story. Inks, Pete Costanza. Colors... No credit for the colors, and letter of Milton Snappin', Roll Call, Saturn Girl, Lightning Lad, Phantom Girl, Invisible Kid, Colossal Boy, Star Boy, Supergirl, Brainiac 5, Shrinking Violet, Sun Boy, and Ultra Boy, Chameleon Boy, Superboy, Light Lass, Karate Kid. Okay, and as I said, wait a minute, villains, guest supporting cast, what am I thinking? Beepo and Streaky, Comet, Crypto, Prody 2, the Legion of Super Pets. Villains are the inhabitants of the planet Thani, led by Richter Roost. Okay, so this, by the index, it says this is the first time the pets have been back since 351, and they will not appear again until 380. So let's go through the synopsis from the Illustrated Index of Legion of Superheroes. The animal members of the Legion of Super Pets are playing in space when they detect remote-controlled crime machines headed to Earth. The pets destroyed the machines and fly to the Legion clubhouse to warn the superheroes, only to have the Legionnaires chastise them because they failed to trace the weapons to their point of origin. Leaving the Super Pets and Saturn Girl to guard the clubhouse, the heroes attempt to trace the machines' trail themselves. Upset over their treatment, the pets depart after Saturn Girl gives them a telepathic charge so they can communicate with each other. The Super Pets soon meet Richter Roost of the planet Thani, who informs them that his world worships them and hopes they will accept their offer of permanent home there. They accept, and he teleports them to the planet Thani. Meanwhile, the superheroes return to the clubhouse to inform Saturn Girl that their attempts to trace the machines prove fruitless, and they want to apologize to the Super Pets. She leads them to Thani, where the heroes note the many statues honoring the pets. They find the animals are now reluctant to leave, and when Chameleon Boy rashly grabs Prody, demanding his obedience, the pets fight back and send the defeated Legionnaires back to Earth. Richter Rose suggests that the heroes may further plot against them, so Super Horse, now human because a comet is passing Earth, and a disguised Prody join the Legion as two new members, Byron the Bowman and Blockade Boy. The two are assigned the task of discovering the origin of the crime machines, and after the others depart, they use the Legion's computer to trace the weaponry back to the planet Thani. Comet and Prody return to face the Thanilans in a showdown, and the heroes arrive shortly after to assist the pets in defeating them. The two legions are reconciled, all earlier differences forgiven. Okay. Said it was a rough week, and this silly, simple kids comic just kind of brightened the day. It's not the greatest comic in the world. It's never going to be one of my favorite legions. But it's going to the audience. It's a crafted comic for a little kid, and that's, I think, what they're going for in some of these. I think Shooter, when he's just trying to tell a really good story and he doesn't mind adding a little complexity to it and some more layers and gives more of the Legionnaire stuff to do, they're so good. And they're so much better than some of the earlier stuff. And I like the earlier stuff, but it's just so much better. But this isn't. I see this. I don't know for true, but I'm assuming they said let's put the pets back in. Monkeys on cover sells comics. Animals on cover sells comics. And this probably did real well with that audience, which was 6 to 10-year-olds. But that's just my take on it. So, as much as I enjoyed it, it's not one of my favorites because the issues before it are so good, and the next 2 issues after. I'm only doing this 1 issue this week because the next 2 issues are a 2-part story, and they're so good. I didn't want to mix it up with this. They're 2 totally different things. It's and I do the compare and contrast on the podcast a lot. They would have not worked. But I said I think Pete Costanza's art is perfect for this. The animals are great. Some of the layouts are stiff and clunky, and some of the pencils, but it's nice and clean. And maybe it's how they reproduced it for this. I'm reading it in Archive 7, which was published. Let me look. I haven't even looked at these. Some of these have been out forever. This was published in 1997. Good googly moogly. But it's good. I've enjoyed his art. Yeah, and I didn't know the origins of all the animals. I kind of remembered comments, but I thought he was a Kryptonian horse. I didn't know. I knew Cryptos. I didn't know Beepos. I knew Proteus, but I didn't know his planets. Why they look like that, or I don't remember it. And I didn't know Streakies. So, but this is such a silly. It's the animals are big and thing. The plot to make this a 2-part, a 20-some page story is taking a lot, and the Legionnaires are just in the background, so you don't see a lot. And this is the last issue with Invisible Kid as the leader, and I find that kind of sad because I love him. He's one of my favorite leaders because I actually think it matters. I think sometimes the runs of the comics are better because of who's ever writing is doing the interpersonal stuff. And we're going to get new leaders. The next, I'll spoil it for you, is Ultra Boy and Mon-El. Ultra Boy is the new leader next issue, and Mon-El is his deputy. So, but also next week we get to meet Shadowlass for the first time. I don't got much to say. There's some action. I do like the Bowman costume a lot. I think it's a great Legion costume. Blockade Boy costume is, I like the Swan version of him, the one where he died in the Stalag. But it's just a fun little comic. I don't got a whole lot to say, and I'm not going to just ramble on about it. As I said, I've had a couple rough weeks, work, just a lot going on. Then I had one of my employees passed away suddenly, and I found out a week ago today, so I've been a little punchy. Tomorrow we go to a viewing, so a lot of sadness. And I'm an folks, and the Oakland A's are leaving Oakland, California. I've never seen a game there, but I've been an Oakland A's fan since 1972. And this is just crushing me. I used to watch baseball a lot in the summer. It was on in the background. I listened to the A's broadcast, late in the afternoon here on the East Coast, and I just loved it. I like their fans. I like that blue collar feel to that team and the hippy dippy feel. It led to an eclectic audience, but that's another thing. It just something I talk about comics as mental health. Listening to a baseball game, especially an Oakland A's game, and rooting for a team that's a little underdog, it was great for my mental health. It was frustrating and cathartic, and I like baseball. I like going to games. I like social. For an introvert, I really do like the communal spirit. I like team play. I was a theater person. I like collaborative art. I like comic books, which is collaborative art. And it's just a lot of little things. It's nitpicking at my good humor. And this comic book helped a little bit. That's all. So, folks, this weekend I will record an episode about Danger Street issue 5 and first issue comic 5 because I got my copy of number 5. And I want to talk about that Manhunter stuff. And next week, the next 2 chapters of the Prince Gavin run of Starman, Paul Levitt, Steve Ditko fun. Next Tuesday, and a week from this, the introduction of a Shadowlass in our Legion adventure. So I hope you're going to be entertained. I hope I got things you want to hear me say. I hope you're enjoying it. Please reach out. Let me know. Hit me on the Twitter feed, or Mastodon or Instagram, anything. I want to shout out to Billy D. Listen to his Monsters and Magazines podcast and The World on Fire. There's some great stuff out. I got 2 more. I've got 2 that I wasn't in. I got to listen to this week because I'm a little behind. And please listen to Earth 2 podcast. They're having a blast. I didn't finish, but I'm just listening to this week's episode about the different characters called the Wasp, and I find it incredibly fascinating, and it's a great episode, so check it out. I haven't even finished it. It's great. So, and they've got big plans coming up. They've got stories that I'm interested in hearing, and it's just a great podcast, okay? Please check out my Doctor Who podcast, Gallifrey's Most Wanted, with me and a rotating number of guest hosts as I go through Doctor Who story by story, doctor by doctor. And as always, be smart, be safe, be kind to each other, hold each other tight, man, because people can disappear from your life, and it can, even just someone who's just a coworker, man, it can be affecting. So think about each other and read some comics and read Sweet Tooth. Jeff Lemire just finished it. Voila. All right, y'all be good.